I'm Anil Kumar, sharing with you question number 10 as a practice test question on functions. The question here is, graph the function f of x equals to square root x, apply horizontal stretch by a factor of 2 and reflection on y-axis. That's part A. Part B is apply vertical stretch by a factor of 2 and horizontal translation of 1 unit, right? Part C is write the equation of the function that results from the transformations in part A and B. So that's the question for you. Okay, now let us see how to sketch all these. So we'll begin with the parent function square root x. You all know about it, but still I'll write down a few values here which will help us to sketch the graph and then to work out with these examples. So if I take few values of x, then square root of x will be what? This is what I want to figure out. Good values to take are 0, 1. Since square root of 0 is 0, square root of 1 is 1. And then we'll take 4, square root of 4 is 2. 9, square root is 3. These are very good values to take. So based on this, let me sketch the square root function here. So let us say that the graph of the function is, so all my sketches are very rough, but they help you understand the concept. That's the whole idea, right? So let's take this value as, let's say this is 1 for us, okay, 1, and then let's say this is whatever, we'll call this value as x value of 4, and we get 2 here, and then of course in graph paper you can get fairly better results, right? 9, right? So this is the square root function. We'll say square root of x, and that is x for you. Is it okay? This is this here. So that's the first part. Graph the function f of x equals to square root x. Apply horizontal stretch by a factor of 2. Now what does that mean? Applying horizontal stretch by a factor of 2 means these values will get stretched horizontally. So instead of 1, it will come at 2. Do you see that? This value moves to this. Instead of 4, it moves to 8, right? And instead of 9, this value moves to 18, kind of like this, going away. So if you apply these, you get a graph. Apply horizontal stretch by a factor of 2. So this is horizontal stretch by a factor of 2 and reflection on y-axis. So let me just make it with a dotted line. And reflection on y-axis. This is my y-axis. Is it okay? This is my y-axis. Reflection will mean kind of like this on y. Do you see that? So that becomes the end result of part A. So we've done it with green ink, right? So reflection will be kind of like this. So all these points will get reflected on this side. So that is the reflection on y-axis. Is it okay? Now let's do part B. So these are independent questions. We are not performing part B on A. We'll keep them separate for the time being. Okay. It says part B is apply vertical stretch by a factor of 2 and horizontal translation 1 unit to the right. So vertical stretch. So let me just go down further. Okay. I'm going to use the same values which I used here and say this is my square root function. Perfect. Right, like this. So we are looking into some values. Let's say this is 1, 1, and then let's say this is 2 for the value 4, and let's say this is 3 for the value 9. Is it okay? So we have taken up again these values, joined them with a smooth curve, increasing as x increases to infinity, y approaches infinity. Perfect. Apply vertical stretch by a factor of 2. What does that mean? Vertical stretch really means that we have to expand or like push it upwards. So instead of 1, this point moves to position 2. Now this is at 2, it will move to 4. Is it okay? And this is at 3, it will go further ahead. So the graph which you expect now will be kind of like this. Do you see that? So that is the graph which will be vertical stretch. Now the second part is, so what we did is apply vertical stretch by a factor of 2. The second part is horizontal translation of 1 unit. So let me take a new color to show you the horizontal stretch translation. 0 also translate by 1 unit. So every point gets translated. Do you see that? So every point gets translated by 1 unit. Perfect. And so the graph starts from here. Do you see that? And that becomes the final graph. So this is what is after translation to the right horizontally. So horizontally means like this. Do you see that? So that becomes your final result for part B. I hope the transformations, how to sketch them, is clear. Now part C is write the equation of the function that results from the transformations in part A and B. So let's keep them separate and then we'll do combination also, right? Okay, so separately, if I'm saying f of x is square root x, apply horizontal stretch by a factor of 2, that means, and a reflection in y-axis, that means for this particular function, my transformed function g of x will be equal to what? Reflection on y means inside negative, is that okay? And also we have horizontal stretch, that means half, right? Half of x, forward, right, minus here, minus of this. Is it okay? So this negative gives you reflection on y-axis, correct? So this graph, which is going on this side, will be, so let me write down here now, is equals to, since I made a mistake, let's be very clear about it, minus half x. Is it okay? So this is that green graph. As far as this is concerned, part B, apply vertical stretch by a factor of 2 and horizontal translation 1 unit right will be, that means this graph will be vertical stretch by a factor of 2, so 2 outside, and horizontal translation 1 unit to the right, that means x minus 1. Do you see? So that becomes 1 unit to the right. This is part B. Perfect. Now, if I have to combine kind of both the things, right, then what do I have? Let's say h of x, if the question would have been that, then what we are trying to do is vertical stretch by a factor of 2, right? Horizontally, half, right? X minus 1. Do you see that? That becomes combination of both, right? That becomes combination of both. However, I haven't drawn or sketched this function yet. As an exercise, I like you to sketch this function, right? And to sketch it, we have to do this translation 1 unit to the right at the end, right? Before that, you may have to reflect it on y-axis also. So the graph is going to be very different. Is it okay? So the question for you is graph h of x, correct? And then write its domain and range. So provide examples, solution. I'll give you the answer for this in my comments. I'm Anil Kumar, and I hope that helps. Thank you and all the best.